And it never seemed to me that you had to put that on hold for a career. And I found out later when we did get married and had children.
And I never thought you had to put things on hold in order to pursue a profession. And when we eventually got married and had kids, I learned about it. Patricia Heaton's appearance on Everybody Loves Raymond was consistently positive, but there was a serious thing going on underneath the laughter. She was concealing an issue that nearly took over her life while the cameras rolled and the audience applauded. Even those closest to her at work were unaware of the daily struggles she faced. It began modestly. Then it turned into something she was powerless to stop. Years later, the truth was revealed and no one anticipated it. Fans, friends, and even her own family were taken aback when it happened. On March 4th, 1958, Patricia Heaton was born in Bay Village, Ohio. Her life began in the midst of the media landscape in Cleveland. For over 40 years, her father, Chuck Heaton, served as the voice of Cleveland sports. He covered well-known teams including the Browns and the Indians while writing for the Plain Dealer. Growing up, Patricia witnessed him converse with sports icons such as Jim Brown. Reporters and athletes frequently filled their home. She witnessed stardom firsthand, not only on television. By the age of 8, she started rehearsing her speech and movement by imitating TV anchors in front of the mirror. She observed their rise to prominence and esteem. It gave her hope that a Clevelander could become a famous person. I didn't like being in the background, even as a little child. She made a production out of every family gathering. She would change outfits and let everyone watch her act or sing, as her siblings recalled. She would imitate family members at meals in an attempt to elicit giggles or even moans. Her mother frequently caught her feigning to receive honors while talking to herself in the mirror. Patricia then claimed that she would stop at nothing to gain attention. She carried that desire for praise with her. Everything she accomplished was influenced by it. She received her first television job when she was 16. She was able to secure a behind-the-scenes position at Cleveland's ABC station, WePaz TV, because to her father's connections in the media. She arrived around 5 o'clock to assist with news preparation as part of her early morning shifts. She made coffee for the anchors, distributed scripts, and operated the teleprompter. She was taken aback by how disorganized and ill-prepared everything was behind the camera. Those who appeared polished on television frequently made mistakes during rehearsals. She understood that being flawless wasn't the point of TV. It was about being authentic. She picked up abilities in timing, lighting, and camera angles quickly, despite earning only $3.25 per hour. The experience demonstrated to her that she might be successful in the entertainment industry. Patricia departed Ohio in 1982 at the age of 24. After accumulating $800, she packed up her ancient Honda Civic and headed to New York. Why was a mystery to her family. It was assumed that she would remain in Cleveland, marry and lead a secure existence. Rather, she rented a studio in Hell's Kitchen for $400 per month. She slept on a mattress on the floor and shared a bathroom with 3 people. She heard sirens shouting and what sounded like gunshots on her first night. She confessed she had made a mistake while crying on the phone with her mother, but she chose not to return home. She continued to stroll through Times Square, gazing at the theater signs and attempting to picture her name on one. To make ends meet, she grabbed any job she could. She worked as a waitress at a Greenwich Village eatery. She was a makeup salesperson at Bloomingdale's. She sold magazine subscriptions through telemarketing. The combined income from all 3 jobs was hardly $150 each week. She consumed leftover food from restaurant shifts and ate ramen noodles. She went to the William Esper studio to take acting training with her remaining $300. The school was very demanding. Patricia Clarkson and Kathy Bates were among her classmates. Esper was cruel. At one point, he told her that her greatest flaw was that she was too kind and Midwestern. He insisted on emotional transparency. She delved deeply into her emotions and sobbed for hours in class and figuring out how to incorporate them into her performance. She never missed a lesson despite working 60-hour weeks. Patricia eventually made it to Broadway in 1987. It wasn't a dream role, though. In the gospel musical Don't Get God Started, she was merely one face in the choir. The Longacre Theater hosted the performance. She continued to study under William Espar at the same time. Broadway music and faith were combined in the musical. This was uncommon in those days. It was her first actual credit at the age of 29. Although it didn't pay well, it was a beginning. Following Broadway, she took a risk. She joined some of her classmates from Esper's studio to co-found Stage 3, an acting company. They were not well known. They put on full productions despite having limited funding. The Johnstown Vindicator was the largest of them. Performed at the Harold Clurman Theater in 1987. Although it was surprisingly well received by reviewers and audiences, operating a theater company in New York was too expensive. Only a year later, Stage 3 folded. Nevertheless, Patricia had acquired the acting, producing, and leadership talent she would eventually require. The organization made a big risk in 1989. They relocated their play to Los Angeles. It was an absurd notion. Actors from New York did not travel to Los Angeles to perform. It was an expensive move. In a city that wasn't particularly interested in theater productions, they had to find a location, house the actors, and advertise the play. However, when casting agents arrived, one of them took note of Patricia. As a result, she was cast in 6 episodes of 30-something between 1989 and 1991. Her life was revolutionized by that one relocation from New York. Patricia's first major TV appearance was in Room for Two in 1992. Linda Lavin, the Broadway actress best known for Alice, co-starred with her. Lavin hadn't performed in 7 years. 27.1 million people watched the pilot when it aired on March 24, 1992. Patricia was a producer of a morning show in New York. Lavin portrayed her inquisitive Ohio mother. Lavin became her tutor off-screen. She taught her about timing, production, the financial side of acting, and how TV actually operated. Patricia's subsequent success was influenced by the mentorship. However, the show was short-lived. Although 2 of its 26 episodes never aired, it ran for 2 seasons. Although the premiere had a large audience, ratings fell to 7.3 million at the beginning of the 2nd season in late 1992. It had between 14 and 15 million viewers on average by the finale. It was too late. In 1993, the network shut it down. Patricia was devastated. On screen, she had at last found her rhythm. The show received positive reviews. It highlighted mother-daughter relationships, a theme that was popularized years before Gilmore Girls and similar shows. She was 35 years old and approaching the conclusion of a journey that had only just begun. Patricia Heaton had a very difficult journey to success. She was just another struggling actor attempting to make ends meet in Los Angeles before she ever set foot on the set of Everybody Loves Raymond. After her off-Broadway ensemble produced a piece called The Johnstown Vindicator in Los Angeles, she got her first major break. A casting director just so happened to be in the audience for the modest show. She was chosen to play an oncologist in the television series 30-something as Dr. Silverman. She learned the rhythm of TV acting from the role even though it wasn't a big one. However, the salary was not commensurate with the status. Heaton was cutting coupons and barely making ends meet while the show was winning honors. Things weren't getting any easier by 1994. She was cast as Jean, a tense mother attempting to keep her family together on NBC's Someone Like Me. The show was barely able to launch. NBC ended the show after 6 episodes. Even though no one saw, her performance was flawless because she was exhausted from her real-life experience as a new mother. She was either pregnant or balancing newborns at the time. Then, in 1995, Women of the House, another brief series, debuted. It was a spin-off of Delta Burke's popular show Designing Women. Patricia portrayed conservative aide Natty Hollingsworth, whose political boyfriend was incarcerated. Before CBS canceled the show, it ran for just over 7 months. The network didn't even broadcast the previous 4 episodes. We turned them over to Lifetime. Critics were unreserved. The humor flopped, the characters fought, and the original series' magic never came back. Some in the industry began labeling Heaton a show killer, and it was just another black mark on her resume. She tried something very different in 1996. She played Jennifer Love Hewitt's character's birth mother, Robin Marin, in the episode Poor Substitutes, which was a party of 5. Even though it was only one episode, Heaton's personality was completely revealed. She managed the emotional burden with unexpected nuance. Heaton gave the mother-daughter reunion a genuine sense of seriousness. Even though Love Hewitt was just 17, it was a pivotal moment. She was viewed by casting directors as more than just a sitcom star for the first time. Her cinematic career at the time was equally erratic. She starred in Beethoven in 1992 and Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Her contribution was minimal, but Beethoven earned an astounding $147 million worldwide. Despite earning $250 million worldwide, she was essentially unnoticeable in the 1996 movie Space Jam. She only received movie credits for these roles. She was not being referred to as a movie star. The audition that would make all the difference then arrived. Maggie Wheeler, widely known as Janice from Friends, was her rival when she read for Everybody Loves Raymond. Wheeler, who was already well known in comedy, was a serious contender. Her audition didn't go well, but for a time it seemed like she would earn the role. Instead, Wheeler was offered a tiny recurring role as Deborah's friend Linda Grunfelder by CBS, who chose to cast Patricia. Over the course of the series, she would make 12 appearances, but Heaton emerged as the female protagonist in all 210 episodes. Her audition went down in history. Heaton gave Ray Romano a kiss on the lips during the screen test. The script didn't call for it. There was no plan. However, it was successful. Later, Romano claimed that she was perfect for the part right away. She didn't mince words. She contributed the appropriate level of annoyance, the sort a wife might experience in a legitimate marriage, and it was cemented in that instant. Because she was Deborah, casting directors saw that she could portray Deborah, real, sharp, and a little tired. From 1999 until 2005, she received 7 consecutive Emmy nominations for her role. She was the first cast member to win an Emmy, having done so twice in 2000 and 2001. For the Quality Television Awards, she also attracted 2 viewers and 5 Screen Actors Guild nominations. Yes, Patricia received a nomination for People's Choice in 2003, the same year the ensemble won the Ensemble Award. This was a full circle moment for someone who had alternated between unsuccessful television series and small-scale movie parts. It appeared unlikely when she signed on in 1996. Raymond's Everybody Loves didn't get off to a great start. It was buried in the dreaded Friday night slot after its September 13th premiere. CBS took a chance and rescheduled it for Monday in March 1997 despite the poor ratings. Everything altered as a result. By the next year, the show's ratings were comparable to those of Monday Night Football and Friends. It rose to prominence as one of the most popular comedies on TV. The program generated 210 episodes over 9 seasons, helped CBS bounce back from years of dwindling ratings, and garnered 15 Emmys out of 69 nominations. Heaton was under a great deal of pressure. She served as the show's emotional compass. The majority of the episodes were filmed live, and each episode cost about $1.08 million to produce. Both the pressure to perform and the enthusiasm in the studio were genuine. This program helped CBS correct its evening schedule, and it was successful. Heaton contributed to the comedy format's genuineness. Because of her and Romano's convincing chemistry, viewers thought they were witnessing a real marriage. Everybody Loves Raymond was more than just a popular program by the end. It was a mainstay of television in the late 1990s and early 2000s. It came in at number 60 on TV Guide's list of the greatest series ever, and it was ranked 35th on Rolling Stone's list of the best sitcoms. Patricia Heaton had the chance of a lifetime after that one kiss at an audition. Everybody Loves Raymond made Patricia Heaton one of the most recognizable characters on American television. However, beneath the laughing lay a life filled with stress, fatigue, and unspoken hardships. In 2000 and 2001, when the show's popularity peaked, almost 22 million people watched her weekly. She appeared to have it all and won 2 Emmys. In private, however, she was barely getting by on wine and bourbon. On set, days could last up to 14 hours. She also had a baby boy at home who needed her care. She used a taciturn but risky coping mechanism. She would quickly get home, take a drink, nurse her infant, and tape an episode. She discovered that her weekly alcohol expenditure had increased from $60 to $180 by 2002. Nobody had the least clue outside her house. It turned into a custom. Her kitchen clock was more than simply a timepiece. It turned into a countdown. She would wait and hover if it was 47 p.m. Wow, that was the indication when it struck 5. Like clockwork, the first drink would be poured. It was only one glass at the start of Raymond. It became a pattern by the end of the 2005 season. 2 glasses of red wine during dinner, 2 cocktails prior, and a cognac following. In 5 hours, that amounted to roughly 8 to 10 drinks. She eventually acknowledged that for almost 9 years, this occurred every night. That's 3,085 consecutive nights. In retrospect, she stated that 5 p.m. turned into a bell that she had learned to ring. The fact that she was so good at hiding it only made it more startling. It was well known that Raymond's cast was tight. They supported one another like family, played poker together, and celebrated birthdays on stage. However, not even Ray Romano took note. In a 2025 interview, he claimed that during 9 seasons, he never once saw her even slightly intoxicated. She had a plan. She would order club soda at group dinners. She carried small bottles of booze in her purse on the way home. On the one day of the week that she remained sober, she even made care to plan any cast events on that day, Mondays prior to the live audience practice sessions. People were shocked when in 2021, she eventually announced on Instagram that she had been clean for 3 years. She received texts from some friends who claimed to be clueless. She thinks that while she was still recuperating from the previous night, she taped roughly 150 episodes during Raymond's run. She didn't miss a single sentence, though. In addition to her personal struggles, she had to cope with being one of the few vocal conservatives in Hollywood. She participated in public campaigns for Romney in 2012 and McCain in 2008. That made her a target in a field where only roughly 28% of funds go to Republican candidates. In 2005, she recalls being shunned at Emmy celebrations for wearing a little pro-life pin. Agents warned her that if she continued posting her thoughts, she might lose 30% of her job offers. Then it took place. She didn't get a single major part in a series between 2013 and 2017. The political response was partially to blame, she said. She became more alcoholic as a result of the loneliness. "I need a glass of courage just to attend events," she wrote in her journal. Later, she made a joke about how wearing a MAGA hat to a vegan dinner was like being a Catholic conservative in Hollywood. Patricia was juggling something far more intricate, but the outside world saw a star, a demanding work, marriage, and parenthood. She wed British actor and director David Hunt in 1990. Their tiny wedding in New York brought together struggling Broadway servers and CBS casting agents. However, they made a second commitment behind the scenes. Due to the fact that they would go on to have precisely 4 sons, they subtly registered a production business called Four Boys Entertainment. With Patricia starring and David directing, firm ultimately assisted in the 2019 launch of Carol's second act. The majority of marriages in Hollywood end abruptly. It lasts a little more than 8 years on average. It's been 34 years for them. In all that time, not a single rumor of separation. Patricia learned twice that she was pregnant while filming Raymond. In 1996 during the first season and again in 2000 during the 5th season. However, CBS did not want Deborah Baroni and her character to be obviously pregnant. The crew therefore used their imagination. They covered her bulge with chopping boards, supermarket bags, and laundry baskets. Her belly was kept out of view by carefully selecting the camera angles. Shots of the entire body were cut in half. However, this was nothing new to her. During her previous sitcom Room for Two, she had already experienced 2 pregnancies, one in 1993 and another in 1995. That totaled 4 births. She barely missed 1 table read in all those years. Even after each C-section, she went back to work 5 days later. She gained 32 pounds every pregnancy between 1993 and 1999, all the while continuing to feature in 176 network TV episodes. She was residing on several continents by 2002. The family's residences were in Cambridge, England, and Burbank, California. 5,360 kilometers separate them. There is nothing like her weekly regimen. She spent the week shooting in Los Angeles, flew overnight on Friday, arrived in London on Saturday morning, and was in Cambridge by afternoon, just in time to see her sons play football. She completed this round 18 times a year, accruing 200,000 flight miles every year. That's equivalent to making 8 full orbits around the planet. She maintained 2 sets of scripts and 2 clothes, one for each house. In Cambridge, the kitchen clock was always set to Pacific time, allowing her lads to greet the Raymond crew at 2 in the morning, their time. As the relatable mother who made millions of people laugh, Patricia Heaton was always renowned for her warmth on television. However, she was dealing with something even more sinister behind closed doors. She reached a breaking point at the age of 60 around Thanksgiving of 2018. With 10 people gathered around the table that day, nobody anticipated that things would get out of hand. She had gone to Nashville to see 3 of her 4 boys. She started drinking red wine as soon as she started cooking. For over 12 hours, she didn't stop. She simply continued refilling her glass while others cleaned up after the meal or played board games. There were her sons, Joseph, John, and Samuel. They witnessed everything. The fact that this had grown so commonplace only made it worse. Patricia had developed an evening drinking habit since the conclusion of her tenure on Everybody Loves Raymond in 2005. It started out as just a martini at 5 o'clock. After that, there were wine at dinner, cocktails at lunch, and drinks afterwards. Although she had never done that previously, she acknowledged that it was now commonplace. And things became indisputable on Thanksgiving of that year. Patricia attempted to speak at one point throughout the event, but her words were unsuccessful. She was unable to complete a sentence because of how garbled her voice was. One of her boys turned to face her at that point and exclaimed, "Oh, great, Mom, you can't even talk." The words were like a slap to her. The individuals who cared most saw through all of the hiding and acting. By then, her boys were in their mid-20s and fully grown men who understood what was going on. She was broken by that one moment. She later claimed that she felt so ashamed that she realized right then that things needed to happen. She then came to a halt. As simple as that. No plan, no rehabilitation, no gradual weaning off. She made the decision to stop abruptly. She also did. She had tried it before. She had previously tried. But it had only lasted 8 hours before she had another drink at dinner. However, things were different this time. Bourbon, vodka, and Maker's Mark were among her go-to beverages. She said the liquor made her feel good from head to toe. However, everything felt poisonous after that Nashville night. Patricia made her resolve to give up alcohol for the first time in public 2 years later in July 2020. She told Parade magazine that although she missed alcohol horribly, she felt better without it after quitting in July 2018. In addition, she brought up a number that had troubled her. In their 50s and 60s, women who drink in moderation during their 30s and 40s frequently develop alcoholism. That stayed with her. She considered her future grandkids as her son began their adult lives. Being hazy and unsteady was not what she wanted. She desired to be alert, fit, and totally present. Her Catholic faith played a significant role in her achievement. Patricia grew up in a very conservative Catholic home in Cleveland throughout the 1950s and early 1960s. She claimed that she was able to make meaning of suffering and failure because of her faith. She thought that suffering may change a person's character and that failures might even be a necessary part of God's plan. She didn't use willpower when she decided to give up. She said a prayer. She knew she couldn't accomplish it on her own, so she prayed to God to take away the desire entirely, and she thinks that's exactly what occurred. Her prayer was straightforward but sincere. "I want to stop drinking," she told God. "You must take it away from me since I'm incapable of doing it in any way." From then on, she viewed sobriety as a sign of surrender rather than a punishment. She decided to embrace the discomfort because she thought it would make her a better person. Quiet prayers and continuous dialogues with God become a part of her everyday existence. She was grounded by that connection. Patricia had already had an amazing career before this change. She won 2 Emmys in 2000 and 2001. Safwan arrived during a period of intense competition. She defeated some of the most renowned comic actresses to win for the episodes Bad Moon Rising and The Canister. Despite the fact that Everybody Loves Raymond was a great hit, she was also the first cast member to receive an Emmy. She had received other nominations before then, but those two victories were particularly noteworthy because she had just wrapped up concealing a pregnancy while filming, which demonstrated how much effort she put into her work. The Middle followed. Although it wasn't widely believed, Patricia was able to leave her position as Deborah Barone. The Middle lasted for 215 episodes between 2009 and 2018. It's only 5 less than how much everyone adores Raymond. She portrayed Frankie Heck, a Midwest mother attempting to balance job and family. She received a nomination for Best Actress in a Comedy Series at the Critics' Choice Awards for the critically acclaimed sitcom. Few actors have ever been the stars of 2 sitcoms that run for over 10 years apiece, much less one that is popular. It was Patricia. She was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2012. At 6,533 Hollywood Boulevard, it was the 2,122nd star. There were her co-stars from The Middle and Everybody Loves Raymond. Atticus Schaffer, Neil Flynn, Doris Roberts, Brad Garrett, and Ray Romano were standing next to her. She reminded everyone throughout her address that her sense of humor was still present when she joked about having 3 great husbands, which makes me an honorary Mormon. She moved to Los Angeles at the age of 30 without an agency, and now, 20 years later, she was receiving recognition for a television career that had outlasted most.